Hi, good morning, all of you. Today I will present the last video of this semesters on introductions to international political economy. So this last video summarize all of our discussions during this semesters on the relationship between states, markets, and society. And I want you to take the important points that put in your notes on your understanding or your memory what IPE teach us in some of the relations between those different states, different markets and society as we study as international relations students. But before I come to more detail of the summary, so I would like to start by express my gratitude, thanks to all of you for being in this class. Through your participations, questions, criticism, submissions of the assignments, discussion in the class, presentations. So all of those, I hope, can be important learning experience for you all, and particularly I realized that this is a very important learning experience for me, and I will use all of your inputs for improving this course or this class in next semesters or in next years. So let's start our summary. Okay, so I will use our syllabus to guide our set a discussion in terms of what is the most important thing that I want you to understand as the one that just finishing the course of international political economy. Okay, so as we discussed very early in our meetings that this is an introductory course in the relations, to study the relations between economy, politics, and society, the relation between states, markets, and society, between power, wealth, and social ideas. And then upon the completion of this course, you will able to I hope now you already know how the interactions between economics and politics, how states affect the distributions of wealth, how the global economy affect the relation between states, including in terms of the international conflicts or cooperations, which is very important topics as international relations students. We want to show from the IPE that how international economy influence the prospect for state to cooperate or to make war with each others. And we also talk about how states become wealthier, but others not so fortunate. So what is the factors on that? And most importantly is of how a lot of issues evolve by the increasing of globalizations, the interactions between people, technology, and also relate to in terms of how state create a lot of institutions collectively, and how those institutions influence their wealth and their interactions. So again, this is an introductory course, so I hope that you will learn, you will use your understanding here for the more advanced course in the upcoming years. You will learn about economic diplomacy, you will learn about country risk, you will learn about multinational corporations, and also probably some of you will decide that you want to take a topic on IPE for your thesis. So this is the first step, first block for you to undergo on this journey. So, and let me move to the structures of the meetings. So okay, please again reread in some of the all the instructions here related to your final exam, your group assignments, to make sure that you understand how to get your maximum point. So I sincerely hope that all of you will pass this course, so then you can continue to the next courses. But okay, but please take a look on the instructions to make sure that you not miss the thing. Although you have good ideas, but you miss some of the formatting or saying that okay, I don't want to. Okay, so this is the structures of our course. So if you can see from the week 1 until to week 4, although yeah, we do some adjustments to of the or say some of technical issues, and also some aspects that maybe I need to discuss further, that I haven't really thought about it when I write this syllabus. But the first part, basically we have part 1, part 2, and part 3, and part 4. So the part ones, the one that talk about perspectives on international political economy. So this is the basically like the tools. So we study first by tools. So how we use the tools of IPE. So IPE as a tools. So we talk here about theory. So we talk about what is the liberals' perspective. We talk about mercantilist perspective, we talk about structuralist perspective, and we also talk a bit about constructivism perspective on this. So basically those are tools. Those are your words like if you work on a house, this is your saw, this is your maybe hammer, this is the thing that for you to analyze and to develop arguments in terms of the issues. Part 2, talking, okay, if you already have the tools, so what things that you will use the tool for. So this is then we talk about the structures. So structures, if all these topics in IPE, we can put it into more category. We have different structures with IPE is basically, this is the object of IPE. So what is the thing that we study in IPE? We study about the global productions. We talk about international trade structures. We talk about international finance and monetary, and we talk about security and knowledge structures. On the last two, we not really talk in detail, but you have your introduction to international relations this semester. So I hope this will complement your discussion in terms of securities and a lot of the current issue of media, social media, informations, all are very related to economics, international economics. And the part 3, we go through in terms of the some of what's it, contemporary and regional what's it, challenge, how states, we take some of the topics to show you how states and markets interact in the global economy. We talk about the issue of development. So IPE, one of the most important aspects that we discuss in development, how countries formulate strategy to move from being poor and seek to rich and wealthy. So, and also we talk about regions on how countries not only doing everything, achieving their national goals through by themselves, but they also work as a regions, as a groups to achieve that. So we study on that. And we took some of the countries to understand their strategy in terms of being rising powers, mainly in terms of the economic powers. So we study about BRICS here, and Lastly, in the part 4, we talk about issues or problems. So, of course, if we talk about IPE issues, there are a lot of IPE issues, but okay, due of the very short time, so we focus on the illicit global economy, the criminal aspect, the dark side of globalization. So, it's the criminal economic activity. We talk about environments, not yet talk more detail in energy. We talk about the global health. Okay, so in these sections, but of course, for the past few weeks or this month, I'm sure that you hear a lot about coronavirus. So that's basically the issue of global health and the main aspects when our presidents are thinking about whether we have a lockdown or not. We have this PSBB or other concept of quarantines. So the challenge or the dilemma is between in terms of how maintaining the populations in terms of health, but at the same time it's not damaging our economy, or if both are damaging, so which one that we try to mitigate the problems. So those things, basically how global health is indeed is one of the important issues in IPE. Okay, so this is the structures that I hope you understand, but of course, through the whole semester with a lot of assignments from other courses too. Maybe most of us like lose directions about what basically we are studying. So we're studying about the interaction of politics, economics, and society, and how starting with the discussion about the tools, the theory, the perspective, and then what's those tools used for. So we study about the object of IPE in terms of the IPE structures, and then we try to see in terms of some of the cases in global economy, the relation between states and market, and lastly about the issues. Okay, let me go a little bit more detail about this. Okay, so I'll not talk more about what is international economy, but let me talk about some of the theories. Of course, theories is things that very complicated. It's not easy to learn about. The most important thing is you understand like the main or say different factors. Of course, different scholars try to develop this theory and sometimes make us confused. But let me just highlight the important aspects in terms. Okay, so the one important aspect is in terms of the role of the state. So how these four theory or perspectives, theories or perspective, understand the role of the state. So basically, laissez-faire, the liberal theory, understand in terms of the very minimalist state roles in economy. So this is basically theory try to understand the market dynamics. So you understand in terms of how economics are operating. So and basically their main advice is the main ideas is the best way to have economic. The ideal ways is to have very minimal roles of the state and let the state markets operate naturally. So this is the laissez-faire, okay. Let us be, so let it be done. Okay, so and the next is the other what's it corner in some of the liberal approach is the mercantilist perspective. Of course, if we understand mercantilist perspective, They use a lot of also liberal approach in terms of their economic activity. So that's why a lot of mixed economy strategy, mixed economy plan or development. But the mercantilists highlight in terms of the role of the states. So it's the maximum roles of the state in terms of economy. So what is the purpose for the mercantilists? Is because the main purpose is acquiring wealth, because by having wealth it increases the state powers. So this is the important indicators of the mercantilist perspective. So well, liberals or laissez-faire is the theory about markets. So mercantilists, we can say that this is the theory of power in IPE. And next, we have the structuralist perspective. The structuralists share the similar ideas with mercantilists in terms of the huge or the big role of the state in terms of the centralist planning. So the state are very dominant in terms of conducting economy, but with different like a starting point or reason. The idea of the structuralist, because of the economics are being imbalanced because of the current economics with the capitalist dominance is what you call it is exploiting the mass, the people. So the solution is having state as a representative of the people to maximize the benefit of the economy to the people. So this is basically the idea of the structuralists on how to change the economic relation between these classes, bourgeoisie and the proletariat. And for that, we need to have very strong state on that. And this state have importance in terms of creating more harmonious economic relationship within the state, within the domestic realm, but also protecting the people from the exploitations of the global economy. So all the term exploitations classes, those are the kind of the main characters of the structuralist perspective. The constructivist is focused on the more ideas or how ideas through the non-state actors, through the individuals actually influence on the how states understand their role and their you call it their influence in economy. So constructivists not giving a certain kind of like hard, because it's focused on the ideas and focus on the transformations rather than understanding the relation between state and market in very static way. Constructivists focus on the transformation, changing, and the changes based on the constructivists is induced by the ideas. The state doesn't feel that they understand that national identity, national interest is transforming, are changing throughout the course of history. So it's not static. So, and this is the contribution of constructivists in discussions of IPE. Just give you an example of how we perceive a virus, for example, this coronavirus, COVID-19. So constructivists give us the contribution in terms that it's not only about the calculation of the economy and the health of the people is the one, but actually how certain individuals, certain groups, WHO, or maybe Minister of Health, governors of the DKI, for example, influence on how we see things. And social media also, the the people, the influencer, the buzzer actually influence which things is important and which thing is not important. So this is the one that being studied by constructivist theorists. So of course, this is very brief. I'm sure that you need really to go deeper than this to understand the theory. And yeah, I hope that you can use this to develop into more complicated issues, complicated, more advanced course in the upcoming years. Beside the role of the state, that you can understand the difference is also what are their prescriptions. So what are what their advice in terms of the economic development, what their advice in terms of solving coronavirus, for example, what are their prescriptions in terms of the international institution, organization. All those are prescriptions that will differentiate this theory with other theory. So I will not go in detail right now, but these two things, basically these two things about how to differentiate this theory is in terms of the role of the state, and the second is their prescriptions. So what are those policy advice that they have, and those theories will have different ideas on how to in terms of the countries should behave, and in terms of to understand the role of the state. And as we already understand the perspective, so then okay, so IPE as an object of study, as a matter. So IPE is as a tool, and also IPE as a thing that we are studying. So if we talk the part two is IPE as a thing that we are studying. So we talk about global productions, international trade, international finance and monetary, security, and knowledge structures. So we deal a lot with international trade mostly, and a little bit about finance, monetary, and talk about multinational corporation in the global productions. Why we stress more on the international trade structures, because trade is the other thing beside war that most important aspect in international relations. So we emphasize on that. But as we know nowadays that the other aspect is gaining more importance, a financial crisis getting more influence in terms of the well-being of the countries. It's not only their strategy, economic strategy, not only about their import and export, but a lot of countries being poor or being rich because of their monetary policy, but also in terms of the knowledge structures, in terms of how countries, developed countries can maintain their superiority because they are ahead of other countries. They create products, they create technology, and from that they can multiply the benefit, their wealth, by having like property rights, copyrights, trademarks, those kind of things that basically give benefit for the early the kind of early starter in the political economy. Things that are very difficult for the developing country to catch up, because in terms of knowledge structures that give a limitation of how they use the resources, and the economy are being limited with this. So that's why a lot of pessimistic in terms of how developing countries can catch up. But as we understand in terms of the discussion about development challenge, about SDGs, about BRICS, about regions, that this kind of fatalistic understanding of how developing countries cannot catch up with developed countries is not really true, because some countries indeed become outliers. The main they successfully break through with their economic strategy, with their regional strategy to find solutions of the limitation of the current structures. And we know when we talk about BRICS and how that several countries are using a different kind of strategy to create a place for them in the dominance in the world dominance. And another thing that I want to underline in terms of the BRICS, the rising powers, is a lot of what's it, the recent phenomena actually force us to rethink of our understanding in terms of the what's it, theories. For example, like the rise of China is actually force us to force a lot of liberals theories to revise their understanding in terms of how democracy and markets the dynamics. Okay, the conventional understanding in terms of modernization theory, part of the liberal theory, is you need to have democracy in order to have economic development, to have markets to be run well. So both are important aspects. But China show that with lack of democracy, they successfully created certain markets that beneficial for their economy, and also we have to admit that the global economy can benefit of the rise of China too. And other thing in terms of how for example, in terms of the Russia role of the resources, natural resources. So, but just want to highlight in terms of the recent phenomena bring us a lot of reflections in terms of how we understand theory of or said how political economy, global political economy works. And lastly, just give you some of the example of the issues. The one that you will have in the topical issues on IR. You will deal more detail in environmental issues with the classes on environmental issues in IR. Global health, currently we don't have a specific class on that, but okay. But hopefully next time we'll have these classes, maybe as an elective or something. But things that I want to, this is kind of just example. So we have a lot of issues, but in your upcoming classes, different classes, please make sure that when you see the issues, first you see the complexity in terms of the dynamics between power, wealth, and society or social ideas, and also in terms of the very basic understanding of IPEs about Chui Bono, whose benefit. Okay, so all this the issues at the end of the days will ask then, so whose benefit of this, what happened, whose benefit of this policy, and this where the IPE actually can play a lot of important roles in to help us to understand the world around us. So this is our summary about IPE. Again, this is the introductory courses that will help you to go through the more advanced classes in the upcoming semesters. And lastly, before I close my summary, please don't forget to give your inputs, criticism, suggestion for me to improve this class, to improve these courses. And also, okay, please read also the syllabus in terms of the final exam, follow the instructions, and submit it on time. Meanwhile, if you have 1 week from now to finish that final exam, And if you have questions, not really understand in terms of the final exam during this week, please just send me an email. And yeah, so I hope that we'll see each other in other classes, not in the same course, IPE. I hope that we can meet again in other classes. Okay. So thank you again. Thank you very much. And I hope that everyone feel always safe, healthy. So with a lot of the limitations that we have during the study from home, learning from home, I hope that okay, it will not break our spirit, our motivations on continuously learning about our world and surround us. Thank you very much. Okay, let me close the video now. Okay. Oops.